Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a pretty fascinating scenario.
Yeah, this whole idea of India potentially overtaking China in the tech landscape. It's a big one.
It really is. And our insights, they come from this hypothetical but very bold, very direct conversation. Disrupt or be disrupted, featuring, hypothetically, Elon Musk and Sam Altman.
Right, quite the pairing. And their take is, well, unfiltered.
Exactly. So think of this deep dive as your shortcut. We're pulling out the key moves, the hurdles, and just the sheer ambition needed for India to even think about this kind of global shift.
So we're going to unpack it all.
Yeah. Why tech dominance is basically the new world order, where India needs to catch up urgently, the specific tech to focus on.
The cultural changes needed, which is huge.
Definitely. And then some pretty radical immediate actions that came up in their discussion.
Okay, so where do we start? The why. Why does tech dominance matter so much now?
Well, the core argument that just jumps out from this hypothetical is that tech leadership isn't just about a big economy anymore. That's kind of old news.
Right. They're saying controlling the core technologies, think AI, advanced chips, data infrastructure, sustainable energy, even access to space. That's the real power now.
Exactly. That's the leverage. Global influence. Traditional GDP.
Yeah.
Sort of taking a backseat to who owns these foundational layers. It's less about sheer size, more about controlling the future's building blocks.
It makes sense. It's possessing the tools that will shape everything that comes next.
And the conversation frames it with real urgency. It's almost like a tech arms race.
A high-stakes one. Whoever leads in AI, next-gen semiconductors, biotech, quantum computing, they're essentially setting the agenda.
For everyone else, yeah.
Yeah.
There's this feeling of get on board now or get left behind. But beyond just the economy, how else could this dominance play out, like globally? Diplomacy, culture.
Oh, absolutely. Think about controlling AI. That could massively influence global narratives, how information spreads.
Sure.
Or space tech leadership could redefine international partnerships, who gets access to resources. Biotech could set global health standards, even affect demographics down the line.
So these aren't just, tools for making money.
Not at all. They shape human society, international relations profoundly.
And they do acknowledge India's potential, right? The brains, as they put it.
Oh yeah, the intellectual capital is seen as a huge asset, but the emphasis is on speed, decisive action. Now,
That analogy they used was pretty striking.
the one about needing to move like it has a rocket under its ass.
That's the one. It really paints a picture.
Yeah.
Potential isn't enough. It needs ignition. Fast.
Okay, so we got the why. The stakes are incredibly high. Now, the tough part. Where is India falling short, according to this, very blunt assessment?
Yeah, they don't pull any punches here.
No, the first big one mentioned is bureaucracy, just layers and layers of it.
Red tape. They paint this picture of a system that just grinds things down, which is the total opposite of what you need for fast innovation.
That line about 1 billion bright minds held back by a system that still runs on faxes, that really hits home.
It does. It's about all those friction points just slowing everything down.
And then there's the brain drain. It's an old story, but still critical.
Yeah, India educates all this amazing engineering talent.
And then watches them leave for Silicon Valley or elsewhere. The argument is you have to build your own ecosystem, not just to keep them, but to give them the platform to build big things from India.
Right. Create the opportunities at home.
And it's not just about people, it's infrastructure too. Major deficits there.
And not just roads and bridges, right? We're talking tech infrastructure.
Exactly. Foundational stuff like ubiquitous high-speed internet through fiber optics. A massive shift to sustainable energy. They mentioned large-scale solar built into cities.
And advanced manufacturing. They mentioned gigafactories.
Yeah, those huge factories like Tesla's for batteries, advanced components. You need that kind of scale to compete. These are the physical building blocks you absolutely need.
Okay. So, huge challenges. Bureaucracy, brain drain, infrastructure gaps. With that on the table, where did the conversation say India should focus its firepower, the tech stack, to dominate?
Right, the strategic playbook. AI is number one, top of the list.
But not just any AI.
No, specifically open models. AI tailored for India's languages, which is massively complex and important, and AI for critical sectors like healthcare, education.
Training India's own GPTs was the phrase.
Yeah. Independent AI capability, deeply relevant to India.
Makes sense. Next up.
Semiconductors, chips, The discussion hammers home the risk of relying on external sources, especially, Taiwan,
Geopolitically sensitive, yeah.
to building domestic design and manufacturing. It's not just economic, it's strategic independence, national security, really.
Okay, AI, chips, what else?
Then you get into the really exciting stuff where India could potentially leapfrog.
Yeah.
Quantum computing, advanced crypto infrastructure.
So not just playing catch-up, but trying to lead in the next wave.
Exactly. Establish a foothold, maybe even dominance in what's coming next.
Interesting.
And energy. Crucial pillar. Investment in fusion, which is, the long game.
The Holy Grail, yeah.
But also massively scaling up solar now. And energy storage is key. It's fundamental for a resilient future economy, moving beyond fossil fuels.
What about space? ISRO's had successes, but...
Right, they acknowledge ISRO, but call for an explosion in commercial space. Reusable rockets, lunar missions, really unlocking the economic and strategic side of space.
Beyond just government missions.
Yeah. And then transportation. A radical shift.
Skipping the gas era, straight to electric.
Pretty much. The idea is to leapfrog directly to EVs. Position India as a leader, maybe even the Tesla of the East. It's ambitious.
Very. And finally,
robotics, huge potential seen there. Automation across agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, driving efficiency, productivity.
wow, okay, that's quite a list. AI, chips, quantum, energy, space, EVs, robotics. But the discussion didn't stop at tech, right? They talked about culture.
Oh yeah, absolutely crucial, because the tech alone isn't a silver bullet. You need the right mindset, the right societal values to make it all work.
And what were the key points there?
One big one was a critique of maybe an overemphasis on academic degrees. Worshipping degrees, they called it.
Instead of practical skills.
Exactly. Instead of valuing the ability to actually do things, to build, to execute, the call is for a shift. Celebrate creation, execution, not just the piece of paper.
So how do you encourage that? Maybe changes in education, hiring?
Could be more focus on vocational skills earlier, hiring based on portfolios, demonstrated ability, not just the degree, recognizing builders, makers.
Right. Makes sense. What else on the culture front?
A big one. Failure. How failure is viewed.
The fear of failure.
Yeah. The need to embrace risk-taking, to see failure not as the end, but as, learning, part of the innovation process.
They mentioned the Silicon Valley idea of failure as a badge of honor.
They did. Highlighting that contrast with maybe a more risk-averse culture, failure needs to be reframed as data, as a lesson learned.
Okay. And startups.
Fostering a startup-friendly environment is seen as essential. Less red tape, more support. They even provocatively suggested ethically exploring hacking, maybe meaning finding clever workarounds, pushing boundaries.
Encouraging ingenuity, rapid problem solving.
Yeah. Cultivating a culture where you experiment, you push limits, and that's okay. It's encouraged, even.
Okay, so we've got the challenges, the tech priorities, the cultural shifts.
Yeah.
If you boil it all down, what were the immediate high-impact actions proposed in this hypothetical? Like, day one, if someone had the power.
Top of the list, just slash the red tape. Massively.
The eliminate 90% of red tape idea.
Exactly. Shows how fundamental they see that as. Streamlining is step one to unlock everything else.
And there's something about cities.
Yeah. Incredibly ambitious. Build 10 brand new megatech cities. Think Shenzhen, but plan smarter, more future-focused from the ground up.
Wow. A clean slate approach.
Pretty much. Optimize environments for tech and collaboration.
What about AI specifically?
An immediate national mission. Build India GPT, AI, built for Indians, by Indians. Sovereign capability, understanding the local context. Urgent priority.
And funding all this.
A massive R&D fund. $100 billion was the number thrown out. For high-risk, high-reward research, deep tech startups. Moonshots.
Serious investment in the future.
Signals real commitment, yeah. And then talent.
Bringing people in.
Yep. A dedicated talent visa program. Actively attract the best global minds to come work and build in India, directly counteracting the brain drain.
Okay. And long-term for the next generation.
Get this stuff into schools early. A
Right.
national AI and chips curriculum for every kid aged 10 and up.
Building that future workforce fluent in the core technologies.
Exactly. It's foundational.
You know, what's really interesting is how these ideas blend radical fast action with deep long-term strategic investment.
Right. On one hand, it's tear down the barriers now, move fast.
And on the other, it's build the foundations, educate the kids, invest in moonshots.
It's both. You need the disruptive energy and the patient strategic building.
And I guess at the end of the day, the big question is whether India can actually do it. Can it seize this moment?
Yeah, act decisively, proactively. The potential, the brains, it's
Yeah.
clearly there. But turning that into real tech dominance, that takes a different kind of energy.
Right.
Bold, transformative.
So, reflecting on all this,
Yeah.
it leaves a powerful thought for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm. Beyond just watching for big government changes, what about your sphere, your workplace, your community, even just your own thinking?
Yeah. How can you, personally, help foster that culture of innovation? Embrace forward thinking, maybe even contribute in your own way to tech advancement.
It's that shift, isn't it? From just observing to actively participating, thinking about how you can be part of shaping what comes next rather than just waiting for it.